Welcome, everybody. This is the October meeting of the Council of the Municipality of the County of Annapolis. We have public hearings at 11 o'clock today. And we have our agenda before us. I'll start with the roll call. District 1.
Bruce Krebs.
District 2.
Brian Fuzzy Connell.
District 3 is myself, Alan Parrish. District 4.
Clyde Bartow.
District 5.
Lynn Mulligan.
District 6.
Alec Morrison.
District 7.
David Hudson.
District 8.
Michael Gunn.
District 9.
Wendy Sheridan.
District 10.
Brad Redden.
And District 11.
Diane Dunn. Good
Thank
morning.
you. Now we have a little bit of a different setup here today, so let me just go over that a bit. We have a number of people that are attending on Zoom, and I'm not exactly certain what the Vimeo picks up, to be honest with you. But you can see that I see Mr. Melanson, Mr. Dick, Ms. Atwell, Ms. Ord, Ms. Young, and the clerk here on Zoom. So when you're speaking, for them to hear, you see that little black thing with the red stripe on it at the top? Mm-hmm. That's the microphone that receives what you're saying, so that the people on Zoom can hear what you're saying. So we might be having some difficulties. That's why I'm sitting over here at this side of the table, so that when you're speaking to me as the chair, you're going to be kind of directing it over in this direction towards that microphone. Okay? So this is the first time that we've tried to do this. So we're going to see how it goes. The other thing that I'll say about the COVID protocol is that you're supposed to be wearing your mask unless you're drinking, eating, or talking. So that's the drill that we're operating under today. And as you all know, it tends to be a moving target, but that's the way we are to be operating today. Okay, any questions on that before we keep moving through our agenda? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you for the bit about the mask. You indicated that we should be wearing them.
Right.
And if we're not?
I can't respond to that.
Thank you.
So the next is the approval of the agenda. There are a few alterations to the agenda that I'd like to point out. First, going through it in order that it's before you. Under new business, you would have seen the memo regarding the J-class roads. So that will be dealt with under new business. Under committee and organizational reports, the matter regarding the medical assistance recruitment program policy, which is 8.1. We've received a notice of motion, a motion to adjourn that to the November Committee of the Whole meeting. That'll be required to be moved and seconded, and there'll be debate on that, and it'll be decided by majority vote as to whether we do adjourn that matter or not. Next, under that same section about recommendations from Committee of the Whole, one of the recommendations was left off the list. So if you want to put in P at the end, the last one showing now on your agenda is O, change in date. So under P, we're going to do paving of Harborview Crescent, Cornwallis Park, which is a recommendation from Committee of the Whole, which by oversight did not get put on the agenda. I think we're familiar with the issue because we discussed it at Committee of the Whole. When we get to that, I'm going to ask the clerk to read the recommendation from Committee of the Whole, and then I'll ask someone in council to move it and second it, and we can debate it at that time. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Madam Clerk?
Just want to remind people that I'll be reminding you at 11 o'clock for the first public hearing. So wherever we are on the agenda, we'll stop at that point for the public hearings.
Any other comments with respect to the agenda? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Deputy Warden moves, seconded by Councillor Longmire. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is disclosure of interest, and as I did at Committee of the Whole, I'm declaring a conflict with respect to the glyphosate matters that are coming on the agenda. Anybody else declaring a conflict? Okay. We'll move ahead then to the adoption of municipal council minutes. They've been circulated to you, and these are the minutes of the regular session of council held on September 21st, 2021. Would anyone like to move their adoption as circulated? Councillor Hudson moves, seconded by Councillor Bartow. Discussion with respect to the minutes. Seeing none, I think that's a good recommendation for the work our clerk is doing. So I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Business arising from the minutes. The first matter is the proof of vaccination policy. And this comes not from Committee of the Whole, but this comes from our council meeting last month. Deputy Warden, would you like to move the
Yes, sir.
the motion?
AM-2.7.8, COVID-19 proof of vaccination policy. That municipal council approve AM-2.7.8 COVID-19 proof of vaccination policy in accordance with the 7-day notice having been given on September 21st, 2021.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Longmire seconds. Discussion? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Through you, Warden, I'd like to address my response to the vaccination policy proposed by staff last month. We received it the day of the meeting and little time to reflect on a response. I, like others, am a person who prefers to organize what I'm going to say beforehand. And I know last month I waded too far in a direction I wasn't prepared to speak about. So I understand that people were upset with their comprehension of where they thought I was going. I think we can all agree that the purpose of a vaccine, simply put, is to stimulate the immune system of a body to prevent getting and transmitting a disease. While some people are comforted by current products that have some success in preventing transmission, the World Health Organization and other leading bodies are optimistic that successful prevention will come in the future. In the meantime, there are many other people who are unable to risk taking the current product because of the known side effects that are listed online when you sign up for getting the shot. I read them, and I certainly hope others did too. It's their choice to decide if it's safe for them, and they have the right to not be discriminated against based on their decisions. And that brings me to this thought. We've all been raised to not isolate, demean, or attack others for being different. We have laws in place to protect that, and huge social media campaigns about the dangers, harm, and societal cost of cyberbullying, etc. That all seemed to stop this year. Now people seem to thrive on attacking those who make choices different than their own. and viciously encourage others to do the same. That's not okay. Attacking people because they have values, beliefs, feelings, or thoughts different than your own is nothing short of discrimination. And it's an absolute shame that our society has embraced that as acceptable when people are feeling so vulnerable and scared. With addressing this proposed policy, my intent was to point out that we risk developing policy that is beyond our authority to do so. There are significant, anticipated, and known financial implications to acting beyond our authority by mandating vaccinations. People have the right to decide what goes in their body. That's in the Charter. And what is written in Nova Scotia proof of vaccination policy are these words: policies should take legal and ethical implications into consideration. Much of this council ran for office because they felt previous council did not do due diligence when making decisions on behalf of the county. What I am pointing out is that, as a council, I believe we must not try to implement policy that is in conflict with domestic and international laws about people's individual rights. This is a brief period of time we need to adapt for. Yet we're proposing to deny people employment if they do not comply. In my mind, that's coercion, and something we need to avoid at all costs. Other counties are avoiding it: Cape Breton, Truro, Queens, Lunenburg. Why can't we? I know a lot of people are fearful, but that's no reason to discriminate. And there is absolutely no need to take these extreme measures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You raised a point about the legality of it. My understanding is that we have had a legal opinion that the vaccination policy meets the requirements of the law. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you, and I thank Councillor Gunn for his considered view. I might like to point out that Cape Breton Regional Municipality has changed its initial view and is now adopting a policy similar to that of HRM, similar to that of Ellsworth Municipality.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'd like to just make a comment. I was unclear when I read our policy whether it applied to councillors. It reads that there's a proof of vaccination procedure for all employees of the municipality, and according to a discussion I had with the clerk, that does include councillors. Any other comments with respect to the motion on the floor? Councillor Redden? Pardon me?
I was going to say, I started to say something and then bumped on my second word. Not a good start. My personal opinion is Councillor Gunn raises a very good point about how the needs of the many butts up against the rights of the few. My mind is contrary to his, and that I think in this case the needs of the many do outweigh the rights of the few. I'm not terribly educated in this field, and so I'm happy to follow along with our legal advice as well. But what I do know a little bit about is science, and I've had some success in the past with explaining science to people, because it's not an easy subject. It's not what the brain does. If I understand psychology well. We are not humans wired to understand science, to be objective, to be so many things that science makes us work very, very hard to do. And there's a huge breadth of information as well. But what science is really good at is testing things again and again and again and again and again. And even after we've already demonstrated it to be anything in science to be correct, for lack of a better word, we continue to test. We're always looking for exceptions. And although I know very little of biology, never taken a single biology course in my life, I do have a very strong belief that vaccines are very safe, and they are a greater benefit than what the side effects are. So because of that, I'm very content to support this policy. But it's not something that I wade into lightly and without a great deal of thought. That's it.
Anybody else? Councillor Longmire?
Thank you. I guess I would like to say a sincere thank you to Deputy Warden Gunn for that news he has shared today. I know that it was challenging, I'm sure, for him to do that today after our past meetings. I would also like to say that it resonates with me much of what Mr. Gunn has shared. And although we all do have rights and we all have opinions, one thing is for certain: safety has to be at the forefront for the many. And I do believe that the vaccine is one part of how we will continue to stay safer. And in terms of our health care, so much of what has taken place over the past 19 months, we've seen the challenges that healthcare has faced, and we do not have the level of infrastructures to support the many getting sick. And so therefore, recognizing that we have something that science has tested and has shown us proof that it does work in preventing those from getting gravely ill, I would just encourage everyone to consider, getting the right facts and being better informed through the right channels. And I too will support the policy. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Prout?
Thank you. At the risk of redundancy on my part, I take the Deputy Warden's comments, his concerns, individual rights, but I would also echo comments from others that I do believe that while we have had ups and downs with the virus in Nova Scotia, I do believe that
Steps that we have taken, whether it be masking or encouraging people to get vaccinated twice, those have helped us, in my opinion,
to keep Nova Scotia, even within the Atlantic bubble,
is one of the safest, if not the safest place, although PEI can make a strong case and others.
I think it's been helpful. And in this case, I do believe that the needs of the many are at the forefront here. And if people have issues,
I know of a couple who have issues with any vaccine, that sort of thing. There are exceptions, but I think that this is a needed policy at this time, and I'll be voting in favor of the policy. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Bartow?
I won't dwell on or repeat what other councillors have said. I appreciate everybody's input. They have valid reasons for stating what they have. I guess I just wanted to add one thing that just to contemplate was that I think statistics are showing us that the number of cases of COVID that are there are pretty much all ones that have not received vaccine. I could be corrected on that, but the majority, if not all, are in that, which is kind of proven the point that the vaccine could be working. I guess based on the common good, I will be voting in favor of at this point. It's stated in here that any of our policies can be amended or adjusted as we go into it. There's an evolution of things, and I would be shocked if at some point we don't modify it. But I think it's a good starting point based on how it's affecting those who have contracted it, and that actually also creates a burden on the healthcare system financially. So I think looking at everything, it's heavily weighted on that side for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay. Recorded, please.
One nay recorded, Councillor Gunn. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could I... Yeah.
Can you give me the count on the vote, please?
Pardon me?
Would you give me the count on the vote? I can't hear anything in the record.
10 to 1. The one nay was Councillor Gunn, and he would like it recorded.
Thank you.
So I was going to just check with you now, Madam Clerk. For those of you on Zoom, can you hear us?
No.
Not at all? Just hear echoes?
We can hear you, Warden, clearly, but the rest of the room is too rooms too fast, and the voices are too muffled, and the microphone isn't picking them up. So as long as you are calling out the mover and seconder on the motions and the result of the vote, I can capture the business of council today.
Mr. Hopkins, is the Vimeo recording going to pick up what councillors say as opposed to that camera on the Zoom?
Yes, it's going to pick up like the illusion does.
So that when the clerk is doing the minutes, she'll be able to look at the video to get more substance to the minutes?
That's correct.
All right. Councillor Bartow?
I assume there must be an incompatibility in the system that our table mics can't be connected to the Zoom?
Well, I don't think we can't do anything today about anything. It is what it is. We'll have to work on things for the next day.
To look at, yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda is, we're still on business arising from the minutes. The next is the COVID-19 response policy amendment.
5.2. AM-2.7.9 COVID-19 response policy amend. That municipal council amend AM-2.7.9 COVID-19 response policy in accordance with 7-day notice having been given on September 21st, 2021.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Councillor Redden seconds. I'd just like to point out for the record, Ms. Campbell, are you there? No, eh?
No. Who was the secondary warden, please?
The seconder was Councillor Redden. Did you get that, Councillor Redden? You did get it? Yeah. I just wanted to point out, and Mr. Dick, perhaps you could correct me if I'm wrong, since I don't see Ms. Campbell here, that the only amendment to the current policy is the part in brackets with the arrow beside it under 7.1 bracket B.
That's correct.
Where it just states that such information regarding personal or health circumstances of any employee or their family shall be kept strictly confidential. That's the only amendment to our current policy, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So are there any comments with respect to that amendment to our current policy? Seeing none, I will, Deputy Warden?
Thank you. And I've got this, how is a person's health circumstance being kept strictly confidential when vaccine status is required at the door, or a person's absence from work, whether accommodated or not, is evidence of their vaccination status? When are we otherwise not working from home? And how is this kept confidential? So how's it kept confidential when we're either working from home or we're not allowed to come in because we can't show a card at the door?
Is that a rhetorical question, or is that a real question?
I don't think so. I think it's a question. How is it going to be kept confidential, strictly confidential, when your vaccine status is required at the door, or a person's absence from work? How is it kept confidential?
Okay, I understand your question. I guess I'll turn to Mr. Dick to respond, if he can respond to the question.
I didn't understand the question.
The question is, you see the portion of that we're amending in this policy in brackets? You see that?
Yes.
The question from the Deputy Warden is that if people are going to be made to work from home, or perhaps be suspended without pay under our policy, others in the organization are going to be able to determine that it's because of something COVID related, and therefore it won't be kept confidential. I think that's the thrust of his question. Yes, he's agreeing that that's the thrust of the question.
So if you look at what's in brackets, it's talking about personal or health circumstances. So those things will be kept confidential. And we would expect that everybody would follow the policy as correct. So it wouldn't become an issue.
Councillor Hudson?
Yes, as far as the confidentiality of the information.
Councillor Hudson, I think it would be helpful if you did take your mask off when speaking.
Okay, on the point of confidentiality.
And just remember, everybody, they're not picking up what you're saying here. So if you could direct, that's why I moved over here. So if you look at me and you look at that it'll help. It may not solve the problem, but it'll help. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's quite okay. In terms of confidentiality, I think all employers have personnel files for all the employees, and that information is confidential information. I guess it was only accessible by perhaps the CAO and perhaps some other senior staff, and I would think anything regarding COVID-19 or vaccination or anything like that would be part of that personnel file, and as such would be kept confidential.
Any other comments? Yes.
As far as being absent from work, sometimes you're not, it's not because of anything else except you have a cold and you can't go to work because that's one of the symptoms you might have, or it's maybe because you have an appointment somewhere else. So it's not we can't specifically say, oh, that person is not there, and that's because it's COVID related, or they're not vaccinated, or they're this, or they're that. Because that would be making an assumption that obviously you're just guessing, and you're not supposed to be guessing. And the facts are told to the people that count, and they're the ones that keep the files, and it should be confidential to a one or two person group.
Great, thank you. Anybody else on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
One nay. Madam Clerk, the vote was 10-1 with one nay. Councillor Gunn, he may want it recorded. He didn't say that.
Record it, please.
You would like it recorded. Okay? You're still not picking up, those people on Zoom, you're still not picking things up?
We can hear you pretty clearly, but not the rest of the room.
Oh, I have to use my
So
voice.
confirm meeting.
Ask her if we need to use teacher voices.
Well, we'll do let me just check the time. Remember, we have the public hearings at 11 o'clock. It's 10:30 now. We'll do the councillor comments, and the recording, I guess the clerk will have to take them off the video after it's recorded that way. But let's go ahead and start with District 1.
Thank you. In the past month, I've had a number of conversations and meetings with constituents in District 1. In addition, I attended meetings of the Accessibility Committee, the Glyphosate Committee, and the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, as well as the Wellmont Area Neighborhood Watch. At this point in time, I would like to certainly send congratulations to Goucher's Farm and Market on winning the 2021 Valley Best Agricultural Business on September 23rd. This business is located at 14935 Highway 1 in Wilmot in District 1. And you've heard me mention Auntie Dorn's Steakout, encouraging people to go there for great food. I wanted to let everybody know that they closed for the season last Friday, October 15th. And personally, I'd like to extend many thanks to the staff for all their efforts over the past season. They will be missed. Auntie, anyway. And looking at the crowds by many. Thank you.
Thank you. District 2.
Good morning, Warden and Councillors. District 2 has been fairly quiet. Still getting quite a few comments and calls on the internet project. Not all good, so there's some disappointment in how things are going. One of the biggest disappointments is that they either can't get through or they can't get to talk to anybody because they won't answer their phone. So I hope that our county will work on that. Middleton Fire Department had a barbecue chicken takeout this past week. They sold, I think, 480 meals and did very well with their fundraiser. So that was something good for the fire department in the Middleton area. And other than that, things are good.
Thank you. In District 3, I saw that there are wharf repairs going on at the Hampton Wharf, which is good to see. The Clarence Country Market, when I was there yesterday, I guess, or on Sunday, has has more vendors there than the first few times I was there, so that's good to see. I note that the Gessner Lane approval came through to rename the lower part of the Longley Mountain Road to Gessner Lane, so that signing should change shortly, I would hope. And Councillor Hudson and I had a good meeting with the revitalization community, revitalization organization, I forget the proper name, of the Chamber of Commerce in Bridgetown last week, which was very helpful. District 4?
Yes. Morning, Council, and outside guests. I have received many calls from individuals and have had requests to appear at community gatherings. I have been pleased to attend. It is very important to me keeping in touch with District 4 residents to listen and react to their concerns. Small business and volunteer groups are the backbone of our communities, and I would like to thank each and every one for the time and effort devoted to various organizations. It is approaching a year since county elections of 2020. I would like to thank District 4 again for electing me as councillor to represent you. I have been working hard and will continue to do so, both to resolve concerns of the past and endeavor to further promote and help growth of the county. Thank you for following the pandemic guidelines to get us safely through these challenging times. We have gotten through a lot, but it is not time to drop our guard. We all have to remain vigilant to protect our family, friends, and neighbors. Thank you all for everything you do. We can create great things by working together. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and will have a safe Halloween.
Thank you. District 5?
Thank you. Good morning from District 5. I guess the most important and the most exciting announcement that I have from my district is that Tryson, the little boy from down the beach, came home earlier this month. So Tryson, Troy, and his mom, Lindsay, were welcomed with many standing alongside the road, honking horns, and very excited to see his arrival. This little boy was diagnosed in the new year with leukemia, and since has spent his entire time at the IWK being treated. In August, on the 20th, he was able to ring the bell that he was cancer-free. And so his arrival home on October 1st or 2nd, can't remember, was pretty darn exciting, happening on the weekend. Prior to Thanksgiving weekend, but much to be grateful and thankful for. I also have had lots of discussions with citizens on many different topics, and they range from everything from halls opening back up and how to get started to lighthouses and, of course, the notorious internet. I do as well enjoy meeting with citizens and chatting, and my phone call, email, and hopefully sooner be able to meet in person at this point with COVID and the challenges still presented to us. I'm not doing as much in person, but we'll hope to get back to that. Thank you.
Thank you. District 6?
Thank you. A few years ago, Charlene Walker of Clementsport, with encouragement, started an outdoor summer market on the lower parking lot of the Basin View Center. It functioned well. Now, Marlene and Tyler Ducharme of Waldeck Line Road have started a winter farm market at the Waldeck Deep Brook Lions Club on Highway 1 in Deep Brook from 4 to 7 on Fridays. Its initial session was last Friday, and it attracted a respectable number of vendors and satisfied buyers. Last Friday, the Clementsport Legion regular evening meal was delicious roast beef and very tasty apple pie. These Friday meals draw a large crowd, and I commend them to you. On Saturday, I was in Lunenburg representing Mount Allison University at a funeral service. At the following reception, I met the Honorable Susan Corcoran-Reid, Provincial Minister of Economic Development. And as a fellow politician, I took the opportunity to wish her success and stressed the need for the province to aid municipalities in all aspects of development. On Sunday, the Upper Clements Hall folks held what I call a See What the Area Has to Offer open house that provided information on organizations, goods and services in and outside of District 6. The rain kept very few folks away as the hall was crowded with both providers and those who wanted to make sure they knew what was available in their area. I attended the annual general meeting of the Cornwallis Park Community Association, provided an update on county activities, answered questions, and listened to comments. My thanks to the Annapolis Basin Conference Center for their latest improvement project, a number of very well selected and very well furnished and arranged seating areas throughout the park, and these complement the benches that were put there a number of years ago by the Cornwallis Community Garden Association. I also wish to draw your attention, if you haven't seen the signs coming in today, take a look when you're going out. Oceanside Arts Center is now open for business in the newly renovated and decorated former museum. I conclude today by thanking my council and staff friends and colleagues for the card and lovely plant sent to me during my recent medical and surgical challenge. My appreciation also to those caring citizens who sent messages of encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you. District 7?
Thank you. As the Warden Parish has already mentioned, him and I met with a committee in Bridgetown, the Revitalization Committee. I just want to add to the Warden's comments that this is a very enthusiastic and active committee that are very interested in moving various things forward in around the community of Bridgetown. I would like to point out that most of the membership in this group is made up of individuals that are not residents of Bridgetown. The focus of the group is, for the entire community, not just Bridgetown. I also would like to report that I had a meeting with the fire chief of the Bridgetown Fire Department. I will not go into the discussions that we had at this meeting. I will leave that to a later meeting, perhaps at the committee, the whole meeting that we are scheduling. And so I'll leave those, a report on those discussions to that meeting. The last thing I'd like to mention is that I guess as I was advised by a resident in Bridgetown that the province has put out the tender for the paving of South Street. I went on the government procurement site, and the tender was put out, I believe, on October the 13th and is closing on October the 28th. Now, with this late date, I guess whether or not the successful contractor will be able to complete this job by year end, I guess will remain to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you. District 8?
Thank you. Happy Mi'kmaq History Month and happy fall. And I hope everyone's been able to enjoy the mostly clear skies and the views of the full moon. Aside from the glyphosate committee meetings and recommendation, my calls from constituents have been down to two topics this month. concern over the proposed vaccination policy and the condition of the former Upper Clements Park and nearby trail. I'm looking forward to taking part in an upcoming conference on sustainable communities with a particular focus on urban forest planning, sustainable, affordable housing, net zero communities, and climate change. I also will be attending the upcoming Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve Committee meeting later this month, and there will be a report next month. Thank you.
Thank you. District 9?
Thank you. My community is very quiet this month. Unfortunately, the Firettes have to cancel their annual Christmas fair that takes place the second week of November, as COVID has wreaked havoc on that event again. The fire department are still doing their 50-50 draws. They are encouraging, they have it out on the board now, to participate and sponsor and help them out with their fundraising, because their fundraising is limited. And other than that, the leaves are spectacular. I got to go to Cape Breton, go around the trail, go on the lift. It's an amazing fall. Thank you.
Thank you. District 9? Oh, is that where I was? 10?
Things are also quiet in District 10. The only thing I have to report is the Lawrencetown Area Seniors Organization, LASO, is how it's pronounced. I'm not entirely sure what they do, but they have begun meeting again with COVID restrictions being relaxed. I think it's again, anyways. Being new, I'm not sure which organizations predate COVID and not. So that's that.
Thank you. And District 11?
Good morning, all. First, I'd like to say that it's going to be a beautiful fall as the colors are coming in already. And hopefully we won't get too cold, so that's the way it's going. I have attended the accessibility meeting in Midtown and found that there were quite a few people that were very interested in being there and also collecting information. There was a very reliable team of workers as well as citizens that came in to talk about what is needed in the area. So I thought that went well. Also met with the physician retention and recruitment, and like everybody else, we are working diligently to try to get someone, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our physicians or other to come in and help us out. And we need doctors. There's no doubt about that. Other than that, the community's been pretty quiet. I've had a few calls about grants and about roads, and that's about it at this particular point. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I think we can do the J-class roads matter before we break for the public hearings. And do all of you have the recommendation report that came in, I guess, just yesterday? And again, I will say I was disappointed to receive this yesterday, come on the agenda for today, but I see that there was a time limit that requires this to take place today. And I would hope in the future that requests for funding such as this could, or at least applying for funding, could come through in a more expeditious fashion. Do you have the recommendation from staff there, Deputy Warden?
On the J-class road?
Yes.
Number 7? No, I don't. I thought you were going to get the clerk to read that.
No, that was the Cornwallis Park issue.
I have not received it.
I can read it if someone else, I have it here. I don't know if everyone has it. I'll read it if someone, Councillor Prout, do you say you have it?
I believe so, yes.
Do you want to read the recommendation then?
The recommendation, to recommend that the council approve a motion to submit a list of J-class roads to be repaved under a cost-shared agreement with Nova Scotia Transportation and Active Transit.
Is there a seconder for that?
Sure.
Deputy Warden seconds. It would have, I think it would have been helpful in the motion to actually list the roads to be repaved. Those are in the discussion portion. And just for the record, for those people watching, the roads selected to be repaved under this motion are the remaining portion of Letney Lane in Granville Ferry, 0.8 kilometers, Hillcrest Avenue, Pleasant Heights, Nicktaw, 0.18 kilometers, Hillcrest Avenue Extension, Pleasant Heights, Nicktaw.
Gordon, I'm sorry, I didn't get the seconder on the motion.
Done.
Sorry?
Second.
Is there a seconder on that?
Done.
Deputy Warden seconded. Deputy Warden seconded the motion. Yeah. I was at the third of the roads to be repaved. The third is the Hillcrest Avenue Extension, Pleasant Heights, Nicktaw, 0.06 kilometers. Pond Drive, Pleasant Heights, Nicktaw, 0.55 kilometers. And Sunset Lane, Pleasant Heights, Nicktaw, 0.06 kilometers, total of 1.89 kilometers of roads. Is there discussion on the motion? Councillor Bartow?
I noticed a little discrepancy on the totals. I'm not sure if there was a road or lane missed or whether it's a math error, but I come up with 1.65, not 1.89 when I add them up.
Well, I think we'll leave it to staff to make a correction for the record on that, depending on the mathematics. I don't know.
Prior to signing contract.
Yeah, it might have been something wrong with the addition, or it might have been something wrong with the listing of the kilometers, so it's hard to know. Thank you for that. Anything else? Yes, Councillor LeBlanc?
Does this give enough time for the staff to prepare and send letters to these people? Are we doing 50-50 and counting to 25-25 on these roads?
In the letter, I'm just, if I could respond to your question. It does say that cost sharing will be 50% for eligible streets. Does that answer your question?
No, it's 50-50. However, in our 50, is it going to be 25 county and 25 citizens of the area? Is there going to be...
Or whether there be a type of community rate or
I'll let Councillor Connell.
Councillor Connell?
It's been a practice that a new subdivision that is dirt and the request that comes in, it's a 25 cent. The 50% share of the county is split between residents and the county, 25-25. But once a street has been paved, then it's always been a practice that it's 50% county, 50% province. Because some of these streets were taken over when the exchange was given, that the county got the subdivisions and the province is exchanged that for social services back in the day. This county, to my knowledge, has never charged 25% beyond the first initial paving project. Same as in Cornwallis Park, same as in the East End. Any street that's been repaved has never had an area rate to it. Only the initial paving of the road.
Well, thank you for that. Now, really, this is something that should be answered by staff, and I don't know if they heard the comments. Mr. Dick, did you hear what the councillors had to say?
Not one word, no.
Go ahead, Councillor LeBlanc.
Mr. Dick, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So we're talking about a 50-50 share with the province as far as it goes for paving these particular sections. In my district, and according to what Councillor Connell has said, it would be only the 25-25 split with the residents in the county would only occur if it was a new paving section. Doesn't matter if it was a J-class road or not. Is that your understanding?
I'm sorry, I only got about a third of what you said. Janice, were you able to understand what the council was saying?
No, she's shaking her head. I see that. Take that as a no. I think the
The thing is, I had and correct me, I have a subdivision that was paved. I have a J-class road that was supposed to be paved, but the residents didn't want pavement, they wanted double chip, which couldn't happen because the province didn't want to go with that. So it does cause a little grief to think that if J-class roads are only J-class roads when they're unpaved, then it should say that. Because it certainly causes, if you call it a J-class road, is it J-class road A, partially paved, B, not paved at all, C, needs whatever? Because there would be a 25% to the residents in that particular subdivision or that area, because I have residents that have to do that, you know, in my last term.
if Councillor Connell is correct, and I'm assuming he is, the staff report says all of these roads selected are to be repaved, which would tell me that the members of the community, according to Councillor Connell, would not be contributing to the repaving. But since the staff really, because of our communication problem, I think we're going to have to leave it at that, and you can, you know, try and follow up directly with staff tomorrow.
No, I'm getting the gist of J-class roads are A, B, C, D. And I thought J-class road was J-class road. But it's J-class. That's okay.
Before I come back to you, Councillor Connell, is there anyone else that wants to speak on this? Councillor Sheridan?
It's also my understanding that if it's...
Sorry, there's somebody's not muted there. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Sheridan.
It's also my understanding that if they are paved, they've already paid their cost share portion, the residents. I have experienced that myself in Kings County. I have rentals up there, and I had to pay that portion. It was a dirt road, and I had to pay the portion until it was paved. Now when they upgrade it, I do not have to pay. So I'm pretty sure that Councillor Connell is correct. The same thing applies in this.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Connell, you want to say anything further?
Yes, and there is only one class of a J-class road. And when people on a dirt section of J-class road doesn't want to pay their 25%, then the county has said they will not pay it all. And that's why the one road in the East End has never been paved. It's never been chip sealed because one individual owns most of the rental houses on that road and refuses to pay his 25%. I don't want to get that mixed up with what a J-class road is. J-class road is all subdivision roads. And the initial paving or double chip seal, if they agree on it, is the first coat or job being done. The county's always charged 25% to the residents. After that, it's a fully 50% county, 50% province.
Thank you. We seem to have some agreement on the situation. Unless there's anything further, I think I'll call for the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Unanimous. Okay. So we'll now, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the council meeting to allow us to go into the public hearing. Deputy Warden moves, seconded by Councillor Hudson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. I declare that we're back into the regular session of council, and I'm going to ask for an amendment to the order of the day, or an amendment to the agenda to add 3 motions. Mr. Dunphy? Mr. Dunphy, could you assist us in finding the wording of the motions that we should put before council?
They're all here. They're in the paper.
Sorry. I see on the tree line management, I see a motion on the back. Is there one for the others?
Yeah, the recommendation at the start.
That's the 3rd page.
No, okay, so it would be...
Warden, was there a motion to amend the order of the day to...
No, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm just trying to figure out where we're going yet.
That one doesn't.
Give me a minute here. I'm just reading the recommendation. Okay, I think I see what the... Yeah, I just give me a minute here. I think we're okay here. So I'm looking for a motion to amend the agenda, the order of the day, to add the approvals of the recommendation of the 2 heritage property applications and also the tree line management application for a zoning change. Moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc to amend the order of the day. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. So, by amending the order of the day, I meant it to happen next in the agenda. I didn't say that specifically. So, I'll start with the tree line management. And Mr. Dunphy, just to confirm where we're going, on the back of this page, there's a somewhat lengthy suggested second and final reading. Is that the motion you'd like to have moved?
Something in the spirit.
Okay. Well, then I'll ask perhaps, do you have that, Deputy Warden, in front of you?
Yes, Warden.
Would you like to make that motion?
Yes, sir. Suggested second and final reading in the affirmative. I hereby move that following the full consideration of the related goals, objectives, and policies of the Bridgetown Municipal Planning Strategy, and upon receiving favorable recommendations from the Annapolis County Planning Advisory Committee and the Bridgetown Area Advisory Committee, and after holding a public hearing thereon, that Municipal Council give second and final reading of Council's intention to adopt an amendment to the Bridgetown Land Use Bylaw, LUB zoning map, to rezone a vacant lot known as 431 Granville Street in the community of Bridgetown from residential light density R1 zone to the highway commercial C2 zone to permit the development of a construction equipment and trailer rental facility.
Thank you. Is there a second for that? Councillor Hudson seconds it. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, I'll go to the West Paradise Community Hall property, and as I understand it,
There is a written.
Is it the, if I turn to the staff report, is it the second paragraph there, Mr. Dunphy, that would serve as the motion?
Basically, what council would do is recognize the problem as the need for the municipal registry.
Well, the second paragraph is a recommendation from the Annapolis County Heritage Advisory Committee, which is not what we're doing here. Delete that part, so we would recommend and basically then do the part in bold.
So we're dropping.
Would like it.
I beg your pardon?
I have suggested wording for the motion if you would like it.
Sure, go ahead.
That the entire West Paradise Community Hall property, identified as the deed referenced as Book 85, page 39, being approximately 18,109.61 square feet in area, located in the community of West Paradise, be registered as a municipal heritage property and included in the Annapolis County Municipal Registry of Heritage Properties, and a deposit of notice of registration in the Registry of Deeds.
Deputy Ward, do you move that? Second? Councilor Prout, seconds. Mr. Dunphy, the motion as read out was that we approve the registration. Now, there's still some more process to go through, is there not?
The process that happens is the notice of registration that gets put into the registry of deeds. That's something that happens after council's approval.
So we approve it now.
Yes.
And I thought there was a period of time where nobody could make alterations to the property pending some other event. Is that now behind us?
That's right, Gordon, and that's actually spelled out in the notice of recommendation. This is a notice of registration that gets put in there. The notice of registration ties the property down until council has had that chance to have that public hearing with the applicant, and that period is now passed.
Okay, so if this motion passes, then our lawyers or whoever can go ahead and register the registration of the municipal property at the Registry of Deeds, and then we're finished the process?
We are, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next, we'll move to the Easton House Heritage Property Registration. Madam Clerk, you did a good job last time. Would you like to try this one?
Sure. That the entire Easton House property, identified as document number 848-23344, being approximately 2.53 acres in area, located in the community of McKeel, be included in the Annapolis County Municipal Registry of Heritage Properties, and to deposit a notice of registration in the Registry of Deeds.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilor, it was moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councilor LeBlanc.
Thank you.
And I do note that the wording is a little different from the wording for the West Paradise Hall. And I think I understand that the difference is because this is an automatic registration because of the age of the property. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Could I have a motion to adjourn for lunch? So moved by Councillor Connell, seconded by the Deputy Warden. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is a resumption of the council meeting for the municipality of the County of Annapolis. We had a good morning session. This is the beginning of the afternoon session. We're down to number 8 on the agenda, community and organizational reports. The first item on the agenda, reports from Committee of the Whole, is AM 1.4.9.1, medical assistance recruitment policy, program policy. Now, I received a notice of motion from Councillor Prout a few days ago indicating on behalf of the Physician Recruitment Committee that they wanted to postpone debate on this issue and deal with it at the Committee of the Whole meeting in November. First of all, I want to thank Councillor Prout and the committee for bringing this to my attention a few days ago. As you know, I don't like things to come up brand new as a surprise at a council meeting. So since I had notice of the intention of the committee to bring this motion, I was able to research Robert's Rules of Orders so that we knew how to deal with it. And I could communicate to the other members of council that this motion was going to come forward. And it did provoke a response from Councillor Connell, and I thank Councillor Connell for indicating his reaction to the notice. So that having been said, I'll ask Councillor Prout if he wishes to make this motion to adjourn the matter that I just read out.
Thank you very much. Yes, at this time, on behalf of the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, I would move to adjourn this until the Committee of the Whole in November.
Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor Morrison seconds it. Thank you. So it's on the floor. Would anyone like to discuss their view of the motion to postpone this matter? Councillor Sheridan?
Yeah, I will not be supporting this motion. We have a new doctor in the community that I know the board would probably like to put an application in for funding. He's now taking names off the 811 list. I think it would be in our best interest to move forward. These other things can be discussed at a later date. It's prolonging something that could be looked down as a good thing. This would be our first application. I think, in my opinion, it would be great to move forward with this.
Thank you. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I'm generally not in favor of ex post factual rationalization unless proper governance is observed. And as I previously mentioned at a meeting, we had a physician recruitment and retention committee. And it was the desire of council when that committee was formed to have such matters proceed through the committee and then to Committee of the Whole and then to council. And I think it was at the Committee of the Whole meeting I expressed my regret, and I still feel regret that this matter was not referred to the Committee on Physician Recruitment and Retention, and B, was just drafted, as it were, in isolation. And notwithstanding that there may well be someone in line to whom I hope no one has promised money, I would hope that this item could be considered at the October 25th meeting of the position recruitment and retention committee, and then for that committee of the whole. Thank you.
Councillor Connell?
Yes, thanks, Warden. My concern is that I know that we had a recruitment committee for council, but I was on the understanding they were for the Western District. I understood that the Eastern District was covered by the Middleton Foundation. In the Middleton area, right now, I believe that we're the most citizens in Nova Scotia without a doctor. We've had 3 or 4 doctors retire in the last couple of years in the Middleton area. I know that several people have tried to phone one, and sometimes it's very frustrating. If you haven't tried it, you should, even if you want to just call and try to get in, because you get a certain day to call, and by the time you get through, they're full. You got to call next week, and the next week comes, only one day. You can call that day, and finally, when you get through, if you get through, you've got to call the following week. So some weeks, people that have ailments have been months getting through to get a phone conversation with the doctor, long a appointment or anything else. I don't disagree that the Western District Recruitment Committee have questions and stuff like that. But I think that staff has done a good job. I read the policy several times. I thought it was a very clean policy for staff to be able to proceed with what the policy recommends. The email that I read was, well, we should be giving money for maybe advertisement to the authority for the facility. When the Eastern Health Facility got their multi-year grant, I believe they made a presentation to council or a request, and council had the opportunity to think, how much was we going to give them? Was we going to do it in a one-shot deal, or was we going to do it a multi-year thing? The recruitment and retention policy only details is to help doctors or nurse practitioners come to our county, which includes any requests from the Western Authority. By adding other things to that policy muddies the water, because we've set the limits of what we would like to see and what we can afford to offer right now to try to get recruitment doctors and nurse practitioners to our county. When you start adding in, do we give them for doing a news bulletin or news search? Do we give it directly to an authority to help their facility? They should be individual requests to council. And then it gives all of council the opportunity to voice their opinion on how much, like I said, if it's a multi-year thing, is it what we want to include? I read the article that Councilor Prout sent yesterday about the recruitment advertisement that the Eastern Authority, I thought, was doing. Is that what that was?
The presentation I was saying yesterday. That was the presentation that our committee saw from Brianna Hall, who's a physician community navigator for the Annapolis Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Let's just keep it as...
So in that, I got to see who all the parties and partners were in the Eastern District. So to put something in a policy that we would help the Western Recruitment Committee or put money in that area, I would like to see who's going to be partners in that. is Digby going to share in some of the expenses in the facility or the advertising groups? Because again, when we look at doctors from Annapolis down, we're going to get citizens outside our counties going to get the benefits of this. So if we put it in the policy that they automatically can apply, other than a doctor or a nurse practitioner coming to our county to practice, in my mind, it's going to muddy the policy that quite often we sit around this table and discuss and say, the policy's so broad, so big, so misconstrued. I just thought that staff had done a real good job pointing out where we were going to try to help recruit and retention.
Thank you. Councillor Connell, as far as I'm aware, the Physician Recruitment Committee is the Physician Recruitment Committee for the whole county. There's not a western part and an eastern part. Anybody else? Councillor Morrison, I have something to say, so I'll take my turn if no one else wants to speak.
If I may just briefly.
You've spoke.
I've spoken.
I'll give you a chance. I'm just councillor for District 3 when I make my comments at this stage. I'm going to vote against the motion to adjourn. Particularly in light of what Councillor Sheridan said, that there is a doctor that this might be helpful in maintaining in our community, but also because we did put some thought into the previous motion. We did get a legal opinion. We worked through it with our lawyers. It meets all the requirements. And then when I saw the request from the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, it seemed to me that they're looking at things that could be grafted on this $10,000 amount that we're talking about. So the Physician and Recruitment Committee can continue to meet, and they can continue to discuss things, and if they want to bring up some other proposals, that would be great. There is reference here to some of the funds. Well, I have to confess I was always a little uncertain as to where these funds came from. I had a recollection that somehow the CAO had found $45,000 that we could attribute to this, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't earmarked in our budget for this. And so it's not a question of there's a pot of money that we can spend, but I'll go back to if the Physician and Recruitment Committee have some proposal to put forward, that would be wonderful. I'm also concerned a little bit about the timing. As you know, I believe in serious consideration and research before things come before council. To bring further recommendation from the Physician and Recruitment Committee about expanding the possible uses of some of the funds, such as providing assistance to the Annapolis West Health Foundation and perhaps assisting the Annapolis Valley Chamber of Commerce in their efforts to promote physician recruitment and retention in the region. Seems like a big chore to me. And if they're going to come back with proposals for the Committee of the Whole in November, they have maybe 2 weeks to get that done. And as I said, I believe in taking our time and getting things right, and I don't want to put a time restriction on them. I want them to think about what else we can do to recruit physicians. I want them to come back to this council with more ideas, but I'm quite happy to proceed with the motion on the floor. It's not on the floor, but the motion that is on the agenda with respect to the $10,000. So I'll be voting against the motion to adjourn. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. This is a very interesting discussion. And I quite agree with what you just said, is that we should take our time and ensure we have all the information. Also, Warden, I think I heard you say that, first of all, parenthetically, it is the Annapolis County Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, as you so ably pointed out. You indicated that the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee could consider this, and you quoted some of the words, and our mandate is wider than that. And it appears to me that while members of the committee would hope that the committee system would be followed, it may well be that the committee system will not be followed, and that a precedent will be set that other aspects of position recruitment and retention could be brought directly to committee of the whole without reference to the committee. And I think this underlines or poses a serious concern for the committee itself if we are to set a precedent that items regarding position recruitment and retention do not need to go through the committee. I have no objection to this effort at all, not one little bit. But I do wish that the proper governance procedures had been followed. And I quite realize that, and I was interested in also where the $45,000 was going to come from. And also, I should like to say, with permission of the chair of the committee, that the suggestions you quoted are not the full extent of the work of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, let me clarify. What I was quoting from, for those that might be watching it, was the message, the email from Councillor Prout when he provided the background. I asked him to provide some background as the reasons for the adjournment, which he did, and that's what I was reading from. The other thing I'd like to clarify is, Councillor Morrison, I agree with you. To me, this matter should have gone to the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee first. Perhaps I fell down on that by not making sure it did, but don't consider this to be any kind of a precedent. I do think if we have a committee to deal with certain things, motions that deal with that jurisdiction should come through the committee and not directly to the committee of the whole. I think Councillor Prout and then Councillor Connell.
Thank you. I want to clarify further here that this in no way is meant to take anything away from that policy as it is proposed, and certainly nothing to put a roadblock in front of the hiring of a new position for social memorial. Not in any way. We looked at the amount that is set aside and possibly is there or will be there, and I think, well, we could, with that and the way it's proposed, we could have a positive effect for physicians or nurse practitioners. That's a great thing. We do need doctors and nurse practitioners and healthcare workers of all stripes and abilities, as my mother-in-law would, or my deceased mother-in-law was fond of quoting. Not in any way are we questioning that. I think, if I may speak for the committee, the rationale for bringing this forward, to setting it aside for a brief moment in time, if you will, is that of that residual amount, whatever it amounts to, it could be up to $5,000. We would like to see, could we carve off, and not even the full 5,000, but a smaller amount to look at how we might work together with Brianna Hall and Mark Vardy on their behalf to see what we could bring perhaps to the western end. I will say this, that I know that Ms. Hall has been active with the Mid-Annapolis Valley Physician Retention Committee, ably chaired by Don Hislop and assisted by Ann Crowell and others. And their work, we're fully in support of their work. This in no way is meant as some trying to put a stumbling block in front of it. I just, we felt that perhaps we could look at, we are meeting on the 25th, and that would give us time to put forward some suggestions. It does come down to the will of council here this morning, whether this motion to adjourn will pass or not. We will continue to work for all of Annapolis County to bring forth as many healthcare professionals as we can in the system, ways that we're able to. That is the rationale behind it. It's not in any way to put a roadblock in front of what's currently happening. And I was very pleased to get the update from Councillor Sherry this morning that particular hiring has moved further along than I was aware of. And I thank all councillors here for their comments for and against this. I think it's a very important issue, and we do need to do what we can do. I thank you for your consideration. I'll yield the floor to any other speakers.
Councillor Bartow?
Yeah, it might not be commentary related specifically to the delay of this motion, but the root of the policy, I had my concerns about, okay, who do we dole the money out to? Who takes it to the individual position? How does all that transpire? How does it equate that we need a lot of physicians, and we've set up to $10,000 per, but there's a limit of $45,000 on it, which isn't multiples of 10. Does that mean that the fifth physician only gets 5 and he's just as qualified as the others?
If I could interrupt you, if you don't mind, Councillor Bartow. Right now we're discussing the motion to adjourn and not the, if the motion that's here is adjourned, then we won't be speaking to it. And if it is going ahead, then you'll have a chance to speak to it then. It sounds to me like you're discussing how the motion would work rather than whether it should be adjourned.
Well, it's all part and parcel, and I was in the middle of my commentary.
Yeah, go ahead.
Interrupted.
Yeah, you were interrupted. I have a right to do that when I think you're going off topic.
Well, it all relates down to the whole thought process. And I figured it was appropriate to maybe bring that up at this point because everybody's thinking about it. I've always said that I'd rather hear more information than less information when I'm going to make a decision. If you want to cut that off, that's fine, but I just wanted to, probably other councillors are thinking the same thing. But that is one fairly large pertinent aspect to why it should be discussed further and why it should be put off. So I do feel it is a relevant comment. I don't feel that it should be, say, oh yeah, we were talking about something else, and that's why I let off that way.
Well, keep going. I'm letting you keep going. I told you how I feel about it. Keep going.
Yeah. So I guess I got to get back, my step back here, but I think that we, as anything, need to do the process. It was mentioned before that the committee was taken out of the loop. They weren't, our process wasn't being carried out properly. I think we should be doing that. I think that's one overruling factor to why I would be voting against that motion. And I think that putting it off is probably the proper thing. If it's 30 days, we've had this problem for a long time. So what's the rush now? If it goes through proper channels, it can be discussed and it can be hashed out and with proper input into it. And the physicians that are in question now could potentially still get benefit of it. We can make it retroactive. It doesn't have to be saying, oh yeah, well, let's rush this through because I don't like feeling pressured like that to say, we got to do it now because, we're going to miss something. Well, if it's that rushed, maybe we're missing the boat from a different angle. So I think I put my point across.
Is there anybody that hasn't spoken yet? Councillor Redden?
Kind of, I don't know where I was going to start, but since Councillor Bartow just mentioned it there at the end, I'll start there. And I think he's making a good point about rushing forward into something when other members of council have asked for more time for consideration on a matter is something fairly important to consider. I'm very torn about where I sit on this motion for continuance. Really, I'm very much thinking out loud here. And Councillor Morrison's point of it going through committee is valid, but it's not something I really want to hang this question on. And I myself had some questions about whether this policy can be fine-tuned, but I don't think they need to be answered before, say, our next budget cycle, about whether the amounts were enough or anything like that. Now, I'm also, at least academically, and when I'm being thorough in my thinking, very in favor of iteration development of something. You know, you put one down because it's 80% right, and then you revisit it and make it 90% right, and then you revisit it and make it 95% right. So in that sense, I'm kind of like, well, let's pass this policy and amend it in 2 months. I'm happy to do that as well. Those are just my thoughts so far.
Deputy Warden, you haven't spoken yet. Did you have your hand up?
Yes, sir. May I?
Go ahead.
I voted for this medical assistance recruitment program policy because it was immediate action for us. We've talked about this a while, about even the legality of it, whether we could go to encourage doctors to come here. Maybe we could help them with their student loans, pay them off, whatever, to get them here and get some sort of a contract with them that they'd stay here in our area for years to come. I looked at Councillor Prote's presentation that was put through by I guess the western or the eastern end of the county or the valley, and you know, it's all good things they were doing. I was a little bit misconstrued as to whether we were going to, and the physician recruitment, Annapolis County Physician Recruitment Committee was going to encourage us to join that effort that's being put by Kings, Wolfville, and the rest of them. Or this was just a suggestion of what they were doing to encourage doctors to stay in their area, you know, the baskets of food, you know, the wine tours, one thing and another. And I thought it was all very meaningful, you know, it's good practice for them to do that. I think it would be good practice for us to do the same when we get doctors that want to spend their careers in Annapolis County. So I'll be voting with this, not to adjourn this. I think we should move ahead because that's what we're doing. We're moving ahead with this motion that we had, right? We're moving forward. We're not waiting. We're moving forward. And it's too bad that the committee didn't come up with this tack before. Maybe, you know, maybe they were. I don't know, but you know, we hadn't heard from them. So it's good that this has come ahead. It's good that Annapolis County has gone through the legalities of being able to give this money out to doctors and to recruit doctors. So in my mind, let's move ahead with it. And I don't like to say this in one respect, but the committee will catch up now, knowing that we have these funds available. It makes it, I would think that it would make the committee's job easier moving ahead with it.
Thank you.
So I won't be voting to adjourn.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Longmire, I don't think you've spoken yet, have you?
No, thanks. All great points that I have been hearing. I guess I'd like to just point out that this committee, of course, I wasn't part of it when it was struck up, but it's pretty much in its infantile stage. So as far as this having come through this committee prior, COVID, of course, interrupted so many of the committees and the ability to carry out the business that, of course, they would have wanted to. Two issues for me, of course, they've already been spoken of, but I want to say it again, is the process. I do feel that this should have flowed through this committee because this is the committee's purpose. And so diminishing that on any level defeats the mandate. And I wouldn't want that to be something that we will face in the future. We all know the realities of our needs for nurses, nurse practitioners, and doctors. That's not going to go away. How we recruit and retain is going to be critical. Do I want to see us not support this urgent call right now? No, I certainly would like to think that we could carry out this portion of it, but that I would want us to be part of that process on the early uptake as opposed to finding us in this kind of situation again. There are a lot of working, moving parts to this. It's endless. So, now I stand kind of in the middle of where I will vote, but
Thank you. Is there anybody else that has not spoken on this issue? I believe Councillor Connell did have his hand up at one point, and I see Councillor Sheridan. So I'd like to close the debate on the adjournment by having heard from those two. I think I'll go to Councillor Sheridan and then Councillor Connell.
So, just to remind Council, it wasn't the intent for this to not go through the retention committee. This came forth as a request for a grant for a new doctor coming into the area, and a policy evolved out of it. The $45,000, I believe, is coming out of the Economic Development Reserve. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's where they were going to take the money, and it's not a pot of money for doctors or recruitment. It is a reserve set up for the county that we were going to be allowed to take the $10,000 from to make this a reality for new doctors and nurse practitioners. So I think it's getting a little bit blown out of proportion a bit, because we don't even know. It's not a pot of money for this certain thing. It's just funds that happen to be there that we're allowed to take from that reserve. So it's getting a little bit, stretched out as to what we can use the money for, because the money, you'd have to come and apply. Each community group, if they wanted something new for their facility or whatever. So that's the money part of it. Again, it wasn't meant not to come through the committee, it's just evolved that way. It was originally a grant. And then the only way around it was to do this. So this is where it sits. So I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Councillor Connell?
And I was the one that brought this forth. And I honestly, because I was not on council when this recruitment committee was ever formed, I had no inkling that it wasn't what I stated before. In my history of what's going on with doctor recruitment, there's been an East End committee and a West End committee. That was my recollection. I had no inkling that committee was formed to represent the whole county. It's never been explained to this council since I sat here this term that that's what that committee did. From the time I've sat here since last November to here is that there's always been an East End committee putting in recommendations for recruitment, and from Annapolis down. That was my education on what this committee was doing. And so if the council was going to have a committee to represent all of the county in its recruitment, then we should have been told that. Because when we're being asked and told of things that are going on in our end, I would have brought it to the attention of that committee. But I had no inkling that that committee covered our whole county, because we've never been told. That's a committee that was there prior to this council, and all of a sudden it was just manned. I don't even know what their protocol is and what their arrangement is. So that's how little I know about that committee. I'm just learning that Pro's on it. I'm just learning that Councillor Morrison's on it last council meeting. Prior to that, I didn't know who was on the committee, and I didn't know what their agenda is. So, sorry for my ignorance of bringing it to the CAO and the warden as a request. But again, I'm still going to stand on the fact is I think it's a very clean policy that staff has brought forth. So I will be voting against the delay of it, because in November, if the committee for recommendations comes out of that committee, it's going to be debated. And if it doesn't get passed in November, then it goes on to December. So if we can update our policy with better things as we move along, that's what it's about, is to improve what we have. Right now we have nothing. And right now we have a doctor and his family trying to settle here. And it's not just getting a house. They're coming from far away. They need everything down to silverware, to just wheels. They need to come to our community and feel welcome and at least be able to set up hopefully their home in our county and live here. So I'll be voting against delaying this policy. But I'm all for encouraging the committee to come forward with more that maybe we can debate and maybe make the policy better. But it's my mistake that I never knew what really the direction or the overall of this committee had in the town.
Thank you. So I will call. I believe I was going to close the debate after these last two. I believe, Councillor LeBlanc, you're just going to clarify that the Physician Recruitment Committee was one of those committees where nominations were put forward, and we discussed them and we appointed them at the nomination committee meeting, correct?
Yes, exactly. And the strategic is, I believe the money is under strategic initiatives, that's 45,000. And as you said, everybody was able to apply to whatever committee they wanted to go to, and the list was passed out of who was on which committee. And our nominating committee did.
Yeah, and I really don't, this is a bit of a side issue to me, whether was a Westerner or an Easterner who was on the committee. It's not to the core of what's before us. Basically, the core is there's motion about the medical assistant recruitment program policy and whether it should be adjourned for further discussion by the committee. So I'd like to have the motion voted on, and just to clarify, if I could put it in my own words, because we don't have anything in writing at the moment. The motion on the floor is to adjourn the consideration of item AM 1491, medical assistance recruitment program policy, until the committee of the whole meeting in November. That's the motion on the floor. So I'll call for the vote.
May I clarify that, sir?
Sorry.
May I clarify that?
Yeah.
Because what I have written in front of me is, from the Committee of the Whole, is AM-1.4.9 Medical Assistant Recruitment Program Policy new. That municipal council approved AM-1.4.
Yeah, but we haven't gotten there yet.
So this is a whole new motion.
There was a motion put on the floor by Councillor Prout, seconded by Councillor Morrison, to adjourn consideration of that matter.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what we're voting on.
Okay.
So just to make sure everybody's clear, the motion is to adjourn consideration of the motion about the medical assistance recruitment policy until the Committee of the Whole in November. So all those in favor of the motion to adjourn consideration, hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those opposed to the motion to adjourn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I count wrong?
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay, I'm going to have to do it again. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn consideration, hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed to the motion to adjourn, hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 to 5, the motion to adjourn carries. Thank you.
May I ask a question, Gordon?
Yes.
So this motion tells me as the clerk to add this item on Committee of the Whole as new business. Is there an expectation of staff on this, or it just goes back for discussion?
The motion was to have it come back at the November Committee of the Whole, so I think it would go on the agenda for that point of time, and staff and the committee can file more information, staff can file more information. We'll see where we go in November of Committee of Whole.
It's because we have not been able to hear any of the discussion. That's why I asked.
Yeah. Okay. But it will come, you're going to put it on the agenda right now for the Committee of the Whole in November. That was in the motion.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So that moves us down to 8.1b, the publication policy amendment. Deputy Warden, would you like to read that?
Yes, sir. AM-7.3.1 Publication Policy Amendment. That Municipal Council amend AM-7.3.1 Publication Policy by changing the name of the policy to AM-7.3.1 Publication Signage Policy and adding provisions relating to signage on county properties pursuant to 7-day notice having been given at the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hudson seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, number C.
Annapolis County Municipal Housing Corporation. Reappoint H. Huntley and M. Booth for an additional 2-year term. That Municipal Council appoint Helen Huntley and Marilyn Booth to the Annapolis County Municipal Housing Corporation Board for an additional 2-year term ending November 30th, 2023, in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a second for that? Councillor Hudson seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
D.
D.
Identify possible bylaw infractions on county-owned forest lands. That Municipal Council authorize staff to annually monitor county-owned forest lands greater than 20 acres through regularly scheduled travel and based on time of the year to locate, visually inspect, and identify possible bylaw infractions to provide a report back to the Committee of the Whole in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Redden. Discussion? Councillor Sheridan?
So last week when we discussed it, it was a little vague as to how much work the staff would have to do and what type of report they'd have to report back on to council, committee of the whole. So I'm still not 100% clear on how much work is going to be involved. I did vote against it last week, so I just wanted to be sure I understand it before I vote this week, as what type of report, how many man-hours it was going to take, because they were saying they may have to go out of their way, and then it was cleared up that it would just be if they were in the vicinity. So I just want, I guess it's a little vague as it sits, so.
I'm going to have to repeat that for Mr. Dick. The question from Councillor Sheridan is a better indication of the amount of staff work that would be required and the type of report that would be expected to the Committee of the Whole. You're muted, Mr. Dick.
What issue are we referring to?
And in the motion, it says that the staff is to identify possible bylaw infractions and provide a report back to Committee of the Whole. So the two questions are, if I can get it, the amount of staff work required to do this review, and secondly, the type of report expected.
I can't speak to the type of report. That would be dependent on the type of infractions that we saw or encountered. In terms of additional work by staff, the expectation is it's going to be during the normal course of business. So we do anticipate some moderate travel, but we would expect it to be significant. And certainly in terms of staff time, it's just part of the normal business, and it's not just the bylaw department that's doing it. We're also looking at representatives from municipal works and giving an assistance in this.
It's all good.
Any other comments? Councillor Longmire?
Thank you. Around the 20 acres, I thought we had discussed that we weren't looking at a particular size parcel or
It was discussed, but the motion that was put before Committee of the Whole was passed. You're right, it was discussed whether it should be 20 acres or not, but it didn't change the eventual motion. I'd like to speak to this. I voted against this at Committee of the Whole, and I'd like to again put my objection on the record. My view is that, well, first of all, it looks to me like it's more work for staff. Whether it's a lot or a little, it's more work. So to me, we should first have some evidence or report of the severity of the problem before us, before we require staff to conduct annual reviews. There's been no report from staff as to whether there is a problem or not. I'd be quite happy to have one review to advise us in that regard, rather than going ahead and ordering an annual review year after year after year. That's number one. The wording of the motion I have problems with. First of all, it's only authorizing staff to annually monitor. Well, we don't need a motion from council to authorize staff to do it, because staff can do it. That's not, this motion doesn't direct staff to do it. It only authorizes staff to do it, which they already have the jurisdiction to do. Thirdly, why greater than 20 acres? If somebody's been dumping material on some property of ours that's 10 acres, isn't that just as bad as if it's greater than 20 acres? I never really understood that. Fourthly, again, the wording of the motion, it says through regularly scheduled travel. I still, as I read that, to me that means that this is travel for this purpose that's regularly scheduled. It doesn't mean just travel that staff make and they go about the course of their other businesses. That's the way I read it. Regularly scheduled travel is travel for this purpose. And then, so that to me would require extra work from staff to do these regularly scheduled annual reviews even if there's no problem. The way this is worded, if they go the first year and there's no problem, they go the second year to see if there's no problem. And the third year, until we revoke the motion. And last is the report to the Committee of the Whole to be annual. Well, I guess it is, but it doesn't really say that. So for all those reasons, I'll be voting against this motion as I did at the Committee of the Whole. Anybody else? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. The 20 acres, what we were looking at, the committee, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong, the committee was looking at the 20 acres, we were looking to be parcels over 20 acres, we would be looking to have some sort of forest managed forest situation put in. Bylaw infractions, yes, absolutely should be on all counties, not 20 acres or more. We don't know what's going on for bylaw infractions in our county land. No one does, because most times no one's been to them in years. As a matter of fact, I really don't think there's probably anybody in the county that works for the county that knows where all the land is, other than Mrs. McIntosh or someone like that who's in the mapping department. As far as making county staff aware of our county-owned lands, I think that's a pretty good step in itself, because then we would have not ran into the situation which we did last year, which I recused myself of, was somebody made a trail out of some of our county land down in Carsdale. Carsdale or something. And so if we had somebody checking out our county-owned land, not just our 20 acres or more, running by and looking, we probably wouldn't have had that problem. So this carries on, that nobody is actually looking after our county-owned land. Now, I could make it my own personal mission to go out and check all the county-owned land. I could chase them down and go do it myself on a weekend for fun, right? And come back and make a report, and report probably to the county of all the possible bylaw infractions that are going on our land. That's not my job. So that is why the Forestry Committee would ask those who are responsible for surveying our land, which would be our county staff, I would think, unless we engage somebody to do it for us. But I would expect that would fall to county staff. I'll be voting in favor of this motion. And some of the discrepancies in it, I'm not quite sure as they all came from, but this is the way it's worded now, 20 acres through regularly scheduled. I think it should be actually all land. So maybe I could offer an amendment to that motion, to this motion, and take out county-owned lands. Take out the forest, take out the greater than 20 acres, and leave it at that. That municipal council authorize staff to annually monitor county-owned lands through regularly scheduled travel and based on time of the year to locate, visually inspect, identify possible bylaw infractions, to provide a report back to the Committee of the Whole in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder to that motion for amendment? Councillor Bartow seconds. Discussion on the amendment.
Please? Can I hear that, please?
The amendment that's proposed on number D that we're looking at about the county-owned forest lands is to remove the word forest and the words greater than 20 acres from the first and second lines of the draft motion.
Seconded by Bartow.
It was seconded by Councillor Bartow. Did you get that?
Yes.
That's the amendment. Okay, comments on the amendment. Councillor Bartow?
Yeah. Also, in the amendment, in the title, it says forest lands. We should take the forest lands off of that to make it consistent with removing the forest and below that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that would go with it. I don't know if the heading is actually part of the motion, but we'll consider that part of the amendment. Now, Councillor Hudson,
Yes,
speaking to the amendment.
I would just maybe make an amendment to that, a motion.
Just an amendment to the amendment, you mean?
Yes, and I would remove the words regularly scheduled. And
Well, that's a separate amendment.
I realize that.
Yeah, no, but I think what we'll have to do is, if that's what you'd like to do, is we'll vote on this amendment.
Okay.
And then if you want to make another amendment with respect to those words, we'll discuss that. So again, the matter on the floor is to remove the words forest and greater than 20 acres. And although I spoke against the motion, I'll be in favor of the amendment myself. Any other discussion on the amendment?
Right here.
Oh, sorry, Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you. So we've now moved from 15 properties of 20 acres plus to hundreds of properties that need to be inspected?
I don't know the answer, and I don't know if anybody on staff right away knows, but one time I did look up the county-owned lands, and I think I got the number 30. So that's my current impression. It could be wrong.
More than
100.
Oh, Council Deputy Warden, you think it's 100?
No, it's not 100.
It's more than 30.
Mr. Dick, does anybody on staff know approximately how many county-owned lands we have?
I'm not aware of anybody that would have that number to
Anyway, the bottom line is, we will need more than a crew to be looking at more than, how many properties, let's just say 50, for example. We're added from 15, we've gone from 15 to 50. So, every staff member, or depending on who's going to go out, who's going to have a mandate to check specific ones. And if we do that, I would rather just do it 1 year to see what problems are going to be coming out of the 1 year thing. I think 15 was enough, but if you're going to add 52, I don't know what the number is, there's my problem. But even if it's just 50, that's a lot to be putting on staff members as it is.
Well, we'll see how the amendment goes first. Councillor Prout? Oh, sorry.
I think
Councillor Bartoli.
CAO is going through the book right now.
Okay, well, Mr. Dick, do you have the information we were looking for, or would you rather come back later?
Well, I'm going to be able to get that information, but if you can see this binder,
Yeah, it looks nice.
that's a description of all the lands that you own. So it's significant.
Oh, see?
Just a quick guess would be a couple hundred in the minimum.
Oh, no.
Okay, there you go.
No.
Councillor Prout, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you. I support the original motion because it was capped at, I think it was 15. And I sit on that committee, and we looked at big blocks of land, and I still support the motion. I'm afraid I'm going to have to vote against the amendment only because of the binder that the CAO just lifted. Somewhere the figure of 119 comes to mind. I don't know if that's false memory planted in my head last night when I slept, or if I actually saw it. But I really would have concerns asking the staff to monitor every plot of land that we own. Whereas I certainly can support the idea as was originally put forward of 20 acres plus. That's my thought on it. Thank you.
Any other comments on the amendment? Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I won't be supporting the amendment. And as to the number, we've got 6 or 8 or 10 in Cornwallis Park parcels of county lands.
Okay. Yeah. Councillor Bartow, did you want to speak?
I'm not sure if it relates to the amendment. But I'm just struggling with, and it is because it's whether it's at 20 acres or not. The county has a responsibility to look after assets for and its constituents, it's the taxpayers that own, everything. It's not just us 11 individuals, but we were voted in to look after things. If we don't have due diligence, and I think that we shouldn't have to be making motions and making on this. It should just be a foregone conclusion that we are looking after and paying attention to what the county owns. And if there's a problem, for example, the incident down Carsdale where they built a road on our lands without even asking permission, that those things would be picked up. I think, I'm not sure how you go about it, or how you dictate it. Maybe this motion is not descriptive enough. I don't know, but I think that voting for or against this motion doesn't change the fact that we're responsible for the assets, and we should be looking after it, and we should be aware. And if somebody's on the back of a 50-acre piece of land, they come in and cut 15 or 20 acres off of our land without us knowing it, we should be prosecuting. We should be doing something about that. Same thing as, well, they built the road down through Carsdale, and we should have been stopping that. To say yes, we do this, or no, we don't do this is a non-starter for me. There has to be due diligence. Whether we have to dictate it in this motion or how we do that, but I'm a strong believer that we can't just say yes or no on this. We're responsible.
Councillor Sheridan?
So I agree with the comments going around the table. However, is it possible to postpone this or table it until we have more information from staff on how much parcels of land we own and how much it would cost to do an annual report? Is that...
Are you making a motion to table the discussion? Right now it's about the amendment, so
yeah, I know, but this is, I'm just wondering if we could continue talking about this for half an hour, and I'm just wondering if it's possible that maybe we should put this off until we have more information.
It's always possible, but it has to be done democratically.
Okay, so we have to vote on the amendment.
Right now there's a motion on the floor to amend.
Okay.
And then regardless of how that goes, then the main motion is going to come back, and if your feeling then is that you'd like to adjourn it or put it on the table, then I think that's the time to entertain that motion.
Thank you.
We're still talking about the amendment, and I will say that the view that I expressed that I'd be in favor of it, after I saw that list, I was operating under the thought there were maybe 30 properties. If it's that many, then I'll be voting probably against the amendment, just to keep the staff requirements down. Councillor, question's been called, but I see Councillor Connell, I'd like to recognize him, and then we can go ahead with the question. On the amendment.
This is how fast a discussion can go so delayed on any issue. So, again, we asked the committee to bring back a recommendation. We've taken the committee's recommendation and hacked it to death and added all kinds of outside circumstances that wasn't the direction of the committee was given. The forestry committee is called forestry for a reason. It's forestry. It's not the little park at Cornwallis Park. It's not the little park in Middleton. It's forestry. We asked the forestry committee to bring back a recommendation, and now we're hacking it to death. Again, it's something that can be worked on and expanded on at any given time. That's what we are here for. So I'm going to go against the amendment because I think the forestry committee brought a specific direction. They were interested in maybe staff having the opportunity, if they drive by a piece of forestry that was identified to them, that it was a big, over 20 acres, less than 20 pieces, it's a start. I agree 100% with Clyde. I don't care if we own an acre. Somebody can throw enough dump in an acre to make it just as bad as throwing dump on 50 acres. Forestry, the complaint we've had in forestry, our own forestry land before, was we have had people go in and cut wood off of our land. On the, I think the land alone out in Greywood's 400 acres. We don't expect staff to drive around 400 acres or walk or hike or take a month to go on a vacation. We're just saying is if there's a road and they're coming out Trunk 8 and there's a road there and no gate on it, poke your car in the gate of it. Most people don't drive 5 miles to get rid of things. They just drive inside the baseline and dump their garbage. You know, I think that our CAO had a good direction is that he would like to bring it, in my recollection of it was he would like to bring staff just to be aware of what lands we own. And common sense in my mind, if I drove by a piece of land that I knew was the county's and I saw something going wrong with it, I'd report it. And that's kind of what the forestry committee had asked, was report if you see something on our own property. And I think that it's time, like Clyde said, we are responsible for that, for the taxpayers. I don't want to put any more work on it. So I'll be voting against the amendment because I think that the beginning of that was a good start to something that could grow if it's all necessary.
So the question's been called on the amendment, so I'd like to have a vote on that. So the amendment is, just to remind you, is to remove the words forest and greater than 20 acres from the draft motion. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed? Nay. The amendment is defeated. So we're back to the original motion as drafted. Further discussion? Councillor Hudson.
Yes, I would like to make an amendment to that original motion. I think there's some words in there that are perhaps adding some confusion, and I would recommend or suggest that the words regularly scheduled travel, or the regularly scheduled words, be removed from that policy, and it should read through regular travel. That county staff regularly travel throughout the county, okay? And so this here would just be part of their regular travel.
Is there a seconder to that motion for an amendment? Councillor Bartow seconds it. Discussion?
Can I get that, please, Warden?
Yes, the motion is to remove the words, the motion of the amendment is to remove the words regularly scheduled in the second line and replace it with the word regular.
Replace with regular?
Yes.
Thank you.
Discussion. Councillor LeBlanc?
I'm not quite sure on the difference. Scheduled, we don't schedule people to go, regularly scheduled? Or is it regularly scheduled when they go do something else, they'll be looking at it? Whereas when you go through regular travel?
If I could respond to that, because it does reflect on a point that I made earlier.
Yeah.
I interpreted the words regularly scheduled to be travel that was regularly scheduled for the purpose of the motion.
Of just doing that only?
Yes, that's the way reading English?
Yes.
That's the way I read it.
Well, I didn't read.
And the motion, the amendment clarifies it, that it's through regular travel. So it clarifies that it's not special travel for that purpose of the motion, it's only regular travel in the normal course of their duties. So I'll be in favor of the amendment.
But it also does not state whose regular travel it would be.
Staff.
All of staff?
That's what it
It
says.
says council authorized staff.
It says staff.
Authorized staff.
Yeah.
Who's the authorized staff?
We only have one staff.
We only have one staff. That's
Well,
all our
yes,
staff.
but
That's all we got.
what are we going to do?
So, yeah, it's staff. Is the answer to your question, is it
Bylaw
authorizes?
officers?
Just everybody. Staff. All our staff.
Mr. Warden?
Yeah.
If I may, I don't think it's really the responsibility of council to authorize staff. I think it's really council's authority to direct the CAO to authorize staff.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I've already, you heard me earlier on that, I assume?
I didn't, no.
You mean you and I think the same? That's a point I made earlier.
We only have one staff person for us.
The amendment on the floor is to change the words regularly scheduled to regular. Any other comments on the amendment? Councillor Longmire.
Sorry, thank you. I don't know if this applies here. I just have to throw it there, I don't know where else to tuck it in. Do we put any signage on our forest lands, be it greater than 20 or less than 20? Like no trespassing, do we do anything like that?
The answer would come from staff, and so, Mr. Dick, the question is, do we or can we put signage such as no trespassing on our forest lands greater than 20 acres?
Yes.
That's not part of the motion, but that answers your question. Any other discussion on the amendment? Everybody understands the amendment? I'll call for the vote on the amendment to change the words regularly scheduled to regular. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? One nay.
What we've done is change glad to happy.
I didn't hear that.
There we go, we're all done.
The motion passed 10 to 1, Madam Clerk, the motion for the amendment. So we're back to the main motion, which is as drafted other than the latest amendment through regular travel. And I do point out that, again, that Mr. Dick asked me to clarify that municipal council doesn't authorize staff, that the CAO authorizes staff. We only direct staff, and this motion doesn't talk about directing anybody. So, any further comments on the motion as amended? On the motion as amended. Councillor Bartow.
Do we have to make an amendment to say direct on there, or can that just be cleared up? If that's a problem, we should fix it, I guess.
Yes.
I'm just thinking out loud, Madam Clerk, there's some principle that I can only entertain 2 amendments, or is that an amendment to an amendment, or can I take 3 amendments on a motion?
You may make 2 amendments on a motion.
I can't take a 3rd one? I can't entertain a 3rd amendment?
Otherwise, you are changing the whole original motion.
Well, not necessarily. Can I overrule you, Madam Clerk? I'd like to entertain the motion for the amendment.
I can't stop you.
You'll break your fingers.
We'll say that you can amend the motion twice before you lose the integrity of the original motion.
Well, we've actually only amended it once, so maybe we're okay. Because the first amendment didn't pass.
So right now you're discussing the motion as amended. Yes, you're correct, it's only been amended once.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain, sorry, was it Councillor Longmire? Who? Councillor Bartow, you're making an amendment to change the word authorized to direct?
I believe that would be, to fix that issue.
Sorry.
Wouldn't be direct.
Sorry, Councillor Bartow, you were the one, were you not?
Yes.
Would you please, I'm sorry, I missed it. Would you clarify what your amendment is?
I think that we're not allowed to authorize staff. We have a CAO, and we should say direct the CAO.
So, just to put it in a nutshell, your motion, your amendment is to change the word authorize to direct?
Yeah, take authorize or direct, and
Yes?
the staff is fine because he's our only staff. So.
Yeah, so your motion is to change the word authorize to direct,
First sentence.
correct?
First sentence, remove authorize and replace it with direct.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor Longmire seconds it. Discussion on the amendment. Councillor LeBlanc.
We should have an amendment to direct the CAO. Because you have direct staff, and direct staff, you can direct the CAO.
I tend to agree with you, but I really don't want to get caught up in the bureaucracy of making a further amendment, so I think, I think we'll take it that it's a direction to staff through the CAO. Any further discussion on the amendment? Councillor Bartow?
Would it clarify it and make everybody happy with taking those authorized staff to direct the CAO?
So what you're saying is you'll withdraw your amendment if the seconder agrees, and then put another amendment on the floor to have it read authorize the CAO to direct staff?
For the...
Just we need
for
to
the
get
illusion of clarity.
Yeah.
Direct CAO.
Direct CAO.
Okay, but I think...
I will formally...
you need to withdraw your early amendment.
My amendment. And you second that?
Who seconded the, Councillor Longmire? Do you agree with that?
Okay with that?
And then Councillor Bartow, you want to put a new amendment on the floor?
Sorry, was that a motion withdrawn?
Yes, it was.
Into the discussion?
Yeah, it was the motion to remove the word authorize and replace it with the word direct. That amendment was withdrawn and a new one's coming.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
Councillor Bartow, would you like to make another motion for an amendment?
Yes, just let me have a quick look here at the read of the whole sentence.
Sure.
Part of the sentence. Yeah, if we direct the CAO, he will do whatever it takes to get it done, so we don't have to muddle through the rest of it. So to be that the municipal council direct the CAO to annually monitor the county zone. Yeah.
So
yes.
remove the words
remove authorized staff and replace with direct the CAO.
Okay, I hear that. Councillor Longmire, your second. Thank you. The motion on the floor is to remove the words authorized staff and replace them with direct the CAO. Discussion on the amendment. Discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Looks like it was opposed. It looks like it was carried unanimously, Madam Clerk. So, I will now read the motion as amended twice, so that everybody's clear. The motion is that Municipal Council direct the CAO to annually monitor county-owned forest lands greater than 20 acres through regular travel and based on time of year to locate, visually inspect, and identify possible bylaw infractions, to provide a report back to Committee of the Whole in accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole. That's the motion that's currently on the floor as twice amended. Discussion, further discussion on the motion as amended. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 2 nays. 2 nays, yep. Okay, next, number E, Municipal Clerk, Deputy Warden.
Nova Scotia, our NS Department Public Works Construction Agreement, 2021-008, authorized warden and clerk signatures. That Municipal Council authorize the warden and clerk to sign the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works Construction Agreement 2021-008 for the repaving of Queen Street from Brickyard Road to Bridgetown Bridge, pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Seconder for that, Councillor Hudson. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously.
F, Nova Scotia Transportation and Public Works, May 6, 1999, Maintenance Agreement Number 34-Q, Bridgetown Bridge Repair, Cost Share Request. That Municipal Council approved the cost of $15,000, 50% share, cost share with the province of Nova Scotia, to repair the Bridgetown Bridge, located on Queen Street, with funds to be allocated from the Letter of Intent Reserve, pursuant to recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Hudson seconds. Discussion? Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I looked at that bridge the other day, and it certainly deserves this. But I'd like to carry it a bit further and for us to be less hesitant in coming forward. And when this is finished, that we have some sort of a ceremony so that, and make the public aware of the good work that's being done.
Thank you. Further comments on the motion? Councillor LeBlanc.
I just have a question, because in the title it says May 6, 1999. Is that when the bridge was put in? Anybody know?
It would be about then, yeah. Wouldn't it?
What's the date? What does the date signify, I guess is what I'm asking. Oh, look at Carolyn, she's waving at us.
Yes, Madam Clerk?
That is the original document with the original agreement in it. That is the actual date of the document.
Thank you, Carolyn.
I have a question for staff. These funds are to be allocated from Letter of Intent Reserve. Can somebody explain to me exactly what that is? Well, no, I think it's for, do you know the answer, Councillor Hudson? I think I should hear it from staff, I think.
Okay.
You can correct them, Councillor Hudson, if you think they're incorrect. I think staff would, what is the Letter of Intent Reserve?
The Letter of Intent Reserve is a letter that was actually written by the province of Nova Scotia at dissolution, and it outlines the amounts of monies that the province would provide for repairs to the town of Bridgetown capital, or mostly capital, yeah. And as that money was in over a 5-year period, it was placed in reserve for the purpose of the former town owner. And I think the total over 5 years was 1.6 million.
And how much is left in it, do you know?
Sorry?
How much is left in it, do you know? In the reserve?
Well, how much is there currently?
Yes.
I think it's around $1 million that's there currently.
And that's to be used only for Bridgetown?
Yes.
Councillor Hudson, does that conform with your understanding?
No, that's fine.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Bartow?
That states 34Q Bridgetown Bridge Repair Cost Share Request. That's part of the dissolution of town, or was it part of the bridge, deal just for the bridge?
I took it from what Ms. Ord said, that the money from the letter of intent was to be used for capital projects in the old town of Bridgetown.
Now, is this two issues? Is this, that's where we're getting our 15,000, but is the province still on board forever, never amen, 50% of bridges, highways?
That would be my understanding just from the wording of this.
Yeah, so that 50% portion is not going to be used up, but where we find the funds, we get used up because it's out of that dissolution fund.
So you're going to have to say that again, I missed that.
So the cost sharing with the province is something that will continue. And it's only the question of where we get our 50% of the funds. And right now we're talking about out of the dissolution fund for the town of Bridgetown. When that's used up, then we have to come up with the funds somewhere else if we have ongoing repairs. Is that what I'm understanding?
That would be my guess. I mean, when that money is used up in the town of Bridgetown, Bridgetown is part of the county. So in the future, when that money is used up, it would be money coming from the county like anywhere else in the county. That's my speculation. I haven't.
So the 50% from the province doesn't go away. It's just where the pocket of money we're taking it from gets used up, and then we get money from somewhere else if there's other costs. Okay, I think that answers my question. Yeah.
Deputy Warden?
Thank you. It's just kind of led me to another question. That's a problem, rabbit hole. So the province gave us this money only to be used in Bridgetown. Can that money also be used for the infrastructure that's underground? Like we paid out a lot of money a couple of years ago for the Centennial Drive project, and I think the county paid that out. So can that Bridgetown money be used for what's underneath the ground, like infrastructure, water, sewer, that?
I don't think, did you hear that, Ms. Ord?
I did. We are not permitted to use it for any of the water infrastructure under the ground. The sewer we can do. For sewer we can, but not for water.
Thank you.
Councillor Hudson?
Yes, perhaps just to add a little clarification. If memory serves me correct, there is $800,000 or $900,000 presently sitting in that reserve, and I believe the majority of that money we have allocated in our capital budget for the work on Queen Street in Bridgetown. And after that allocation, I think there's only a far smaller amount, maybe only 25 or 30,000. That's going to be left in that reserve after that allocation. And so this is just basically to wind down or use up those funds.
Thank you. We're getting a little off topic, but not really. Any other comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Next.
G, Countywide Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw Consultant Proposal Review Scoring Report. That Municipal Council enter into a contract with Stantec Consulting Limited to conduct the review of Annapolis County Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw in accordance with the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Sheridan seconds. Discussion? Councillor Hudson?
Yes. Should not the amount of that be quoted in that?
I beg your pardon? Can you take your mask off?
Yeah. Should not the amount of that contract be mentioned in that motion?
I don't remember whether the amount was in the recommendation of Committee of the Whole, but it was in the reports. I think good point, but I think we'll proceed with the understanding it's as reported in Committee of the Whole, because the amount was in the report. Any other comments with respect to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Yeah, Madam Clerk?
Apparently your coffee break is ready.
Pardon me?
Coffee break is ready.
Yeah, I thought we'd have the coffee break a little later, myself. I think we'll keep going.
H. H?
H, yeah.
2021-10-4 Cornwallis Wastewater Treatment Plant UV upgrade. That municipal council approve additional capital funding of $25,047.47 plus HST to be funded from the sewer reserve, SRES, to enable the installation of the ultraviolet system at Cornwallis Wastewater Treatment Facility in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there Councillor Morrison seconds that? Discussion? Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I think this is going to be a good thing for the Annapolis Basin in particular, because we won't be dumping a bunch of chemicals, which we've had to use for years to treat the water before it goes to the basin. And this new UV system will take care of that, so it's a good thing. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Hudson?
Yes, just a question. Is this amount in addition to, I'll take this off.
Sorry. Yeah.
I should have taken this off. Is that amount in addition to the amounts approved in our capital budget? It seems to me, if my memory serves me correct, that we had discussions on this very topic when we discussed the annual budgets, the capital budgets.
I'll ask staff, and if I get your question correctly, but the way I read it is that this is additional capital funding required because of more cost than estimated. We wouldn't have known that at the time of the budget, but I don't know. Mr. Dick, can you hear me? Mr. Dick?
Yes.
The question under number H is why is it that we're approving additional capital funding of $25,000 since Councillor Hudson thinks that we considered this at budget time?
I will allow Janice to answer that question. Janice? Is she there?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Yes. Yeah.
Why are we asking under H to the extra $25,000?
Because the folks came in over. When we went out.
Thank you. I think that answers the question. Okay, Councillor Hudson? Councillor Hudson?
No, that's fine.
That's fine?
No, it answers the question for yes.
Okay.
That's good.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, number I, Deputy Warden.
Yes, sir. Intermunicipal Service Agreement, 2-year pilot project, Valley Waste and King's Transit. That the municipality of the County of Annapolis join and partake in a 2-year pilot project involving Valley Waste, King's Transit, but only if the warden is able to vote on all matters which come before the new pilot project board, other than a vote which incurs long-term debt with respect to a particular project pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Longmire seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Oh, were you going to say?
I was going to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So they haven't responded to your being a more voting member?
I had made arrangements with Mayor Muttart that after we passed the recommendation from the Committee of Whole, I would advise him of it, which I did, and I haven't heard back.
And if I can make one more comment to follow up on that. Listen, I'm all for intermunicipal agreements as long as they're fair and they're followed. When it comes to Annapolis County, I'm more interested in amalgamation in Annapolis County than I am with regionalization. Thank you.
Further comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Now, I'm declaring a conflict on the following 5 matters. They all relate to glyphosate. And Deputy Warden, I think it might be helpful if, when I leave the room, you come and sit up here, because it seems like this is the only place that the clerk can really hear.
Okay.
So for the record, Madam Clerk, I'm declaring a conflict with respect to the glyphosate-related matters, because I own a farm in Clarence with a large amount of agricultural land, and the farmers that work the land do use glyphosate. I don't charge the farmers, but they do keep my land up, and I felt it better, just for safety's sake, to declare a conflict, so I'll be leaving the room. And Councillor Redden knows where I'm going to hide, and he'll come and get me when I can come back.
When the mouse is away, when the cat's away, the mouse is away, isn't it? Oh, okay. Please, let me put my eyeglasses on and the brain on.
So, we're up to J on the agenda there, in the Committee of the Whole organizational reports. Councillor LeBlanc.
Okay, thank you. County use of glyphosate-related products. That the municipality of the County of Annapolis not use glyphosate-related products on county-owned lands/basis pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Connell, second. Discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. 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 It's unanimous, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
And we'll move to K.
Education campaign glyphosate. That the municipal council directs staff to conduct an education campaign about household alternatives to glyphosate usage in accordance with the recommendation of Committee of the Whole.
Could I have a seconder? Councillor Longmire. Discussion? Councillor Redden.
Well, as I said, Committee of the Whole, I find the educational campaign to be a very broad phrase.
Sure.
And in light of Councillor Connell's very good comments about butchering a subcommittee's motion, I'm somewhat hesitant to offer an amendment. Because I found his comments to be very, very sort of on the mark, and where I don't know exactly what your intent was. As a Committee of the Whole, you said you were not looking for anything terribly broad, but I really would prefer to see it narrowed up some for me to support it.
Could you give us a narrow it up?
An example of a motion that I would find very amenable. I could definitely give you an example of an amendment, I guess. Direct staff to conduct to place educational material on the county website instead of educational campaign.
Okay, you're looking to change conduct to place?
No, campaign.
Yes.
Campaign.
Yeah. Well, I guess would be conduct an educational campaign would in fact be changed to place educational material on the county website about household alternatives to glyphosate, right? Whatever it is. Glyphosate? Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm still trying to get exactly what the wording is to be here, because I've heard campaign, there's already education campaign in there.
So, remove conduct an educational campaign.
Okay.
And replace that with place educational material on the county website.
Place education material on the county website.
Yeah.
Okay, place educational material about household alternatives to glyphosate on the county website, is that it?
I'm not sure the order really matters. Does it? Place educational material on the county website about household alternatives to glyphosate. Yes, usage.
Okay, now hold on. What I've got written down here, Councillor Redden, is that municipal council directs staff to place educational material about household alternatives to glyphosate usage in accordance with the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole. Is that what I'm looking at here?
No, after educational material on the county website. So the municipal council directs staff to place educational material on the county website about household alternatives to glyphosate usage in accordance with the recommendation of the committee. Recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
So we need to know what's being removed and what it's being replaced by, please.
Yes.
Probably usage.
Because I can't hear the discussion.
I know it, and I'm having a hard time getting
CAO,
there.
you're gonna
The municipal,
do one thing, do it the other. You can't direct staff.
Right.
You might as well correct it now.
Okay. Carolyn, can you hear me?
no.
At this moment, I can, yes.
So I will now speak to you instead of my piece of paper. I would like to remove staff to conduct an educational campaign in the first line.
Yes.
And replace it with CAO, direct the CAO to place educational material on the county website.
About household alternatives?
This is to amend the motion by removing staff to conduct an education campaign and replacing it with direct the CAO to place educational materials on the county website.
Yes.
Okay, we have that. About household alternatives. Got it.
Yeah,
Can I have a seconder for the amendment? Okay, good. I got Councillor Longmire. Councillor Longmire. Councillor Longmire seconded the amendment. Now, discussion on the amendment. Discussion on the amendment. Hearing none, I'm calling for a vote to the amended motion. Can I read that out? Is it all right if I read that out, Carolyn, so they know?
Please do.
That municipal council. Yes, that municipal council. Okay. That municipal council direct the CAO to place educational material on the county website about household alternatives to glyphosate usage in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole. That's what we're voting on. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So right now you're just voting on the amendment, not the amended motion.
Okay, the amended, okay, that's the amended.
The amendment.
Okay. Everybody's okay with the amendment. So, on the amended motion,
On the amendment, what was, if you called the count, sorry, I missed it. On the amendment,
the amendment was unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll vote on the amended motion.
Thank you.
Okay. That municipal council direct the CAO to place educational material on the county website about household alternatives to to glyphosate usage in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Okay, L.
Letter to ministers to cease aerial glyphosate-related spraying in Annapolis County. That municipal council send a letter to the Minister of Natural Resources and the Minister of Environment requesting a cessation of aerial glyphosate-related spraying in Annapolis County in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Second. Councillor Barto. Discussion. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. 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 Unanimous, Madam Clerk. Okay, M.
Letter to ministers to post areas sprayed. That municipal council send a letter to the Minister of Natural Resources and the Minister of Environment requesting that neighboring concession/access roads to recently sprayed, brackets within a year, regions have noticed of aerial spraying signs posted to inform public using the roads/woods pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Second. Councillor Barto. Discussion. Discussion. Calling the question, all those in favor say aye. 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 Unanimous, Madam Clerk. And
Contact NSFM for a report on glyphosate issue in Nova Scotia municipalities. That municipal council contact the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities to find out how other municipalities are dealing with glyphosate pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
second. Councillor Connell. Discussion. Councillor Sheridan.
In the motion, it does say that municipal council contact the Nova Scotia Federation. So are we to contact them, or are we going to direct the CAO to contact?
Well, you know, if I can answer that, I actually wondered that, and I really don't know the rules on it. I would almost think that that would be a counselor of some sort get a hold of the Federation of, just to find out. I could be wrong, but staff, is there anybody in our staff that deals with the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities?
It's called the warden.
That's usually just for the elected officials.
Is it? Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. So it is. It would be municipal council that would do this. So the warden has recused himself. I'd certainly be happy to take that job on if you guys are all, if your council was willing to have me do that. I would get a hold of Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. Now, I don't know if we need a motion for that or not, but the motion is contact NSFM for report on glyphosate use in Nova Scotia municipalities, and that municipal council contact Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities to find out how other municipalities are dealing with glyphosate pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole. So, did we have a motion on that?
Yeah. Make a motion
That's
that
right.
you do it as a deputy warden.
Yeah.
I would make that motion that you make the contact.
Okay. So it's been moved by Councillor Prout that I, as Deputy Warden, contact the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. Was there a seconder?
That's already in your motion, Deputy Warden, for municipal council, so if it isn't the warden, it would fall to the deputy warden anyway.
Oh, so we're all set.
I think by directing council, you're safe.
Thank you. So.
I'll withdraw mine.
All right. So we're good with that. Any discussion on it? Any discussion on that matter? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimous?
Thank you.
And that's it. Brad, you know where the warden is.
Actually, go find Cal.
He's back at the top here.
Holding us back from getting some. Thank you.
Deputy Warden Dunn? I have a question. Is there any other municipality that has a committee for precedent that you know of?
Well, Halifax, obviously, and Cape Breton municipality. But I don't know.
But
And
we'll
I'm going to find out.
Two that have a committee.
I'm going to find out what they're doing about it. Yeah. No problem.
That's the way, we might as well go. You never know what's going to happen.
Thank you. I assume we're down to number O. Number O, change in date for the November Municipal Council meeting.
That change in date, regular municipal council. That regular session of municipal council in November be changed from Tuesday, November 16th, 2021 to Wednesday, November 17th, 2021, in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a second for that? Councillor Sheridan seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Oh, Councillor Longmire's missing.
Yes, you'll be
Should be back. What about?
okay.
I think we'll proceed with the vote, and I don't think there'll be an issue. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Maybe this is a good time then to take a break, since it appears as though some people...
We have one left here. Don't we?
Yeah, we've got, and then we're going to go in Committee of the Whole. So I just think that, if we can, all right, we can finish this. Is that the will of the group?
Well, I'm just wondering, the paving of the Harborview Crescent?
Yeah.
That was the
Okay,
last
so
motion.
we'll do that. And what we're going to do here, Deputy Warden, is that the clerk is going to read the motion that came from Committee of the Whole. So, Madam Clerk, if you would read the motion with respect to the paving of Harborview Crescent.
Yes, that the municipal council approve the cost of $140,000 plus HST to resurface the road portion of Harborview Crescent for Wallace Park, with the project to be funded from gas tax reserve.
It's moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Morrison. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. So we're moving in camera. We'll take a 10-minute break. Back in session after the afternoon break at the council meeting for the municipality of the county of Annapolis. I'll entertain a motion to go in camera for the purposes of litigation or potential litigation. Moved by Councillor Barteau, second by Councillor Sheridan. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. We're back into the regular session of council. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's something else that we need to deal with. Moved to adjourn by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Crouch. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.